5030 constructed game played at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. Up top is my friend Kellen playing Deathspeaker, and I am playing a mono Avatar of Air deck on the bottom. So at this point in time, I think I've played maybe 3 games with the Avatar of Air, so I have a little better understanding of kind of how to run that deck. I still run into some problems coming up with attack lines using the Avatar of Air's movement and push abilities. The Deathspeaker deck that Kellen's running is a little atypical. It is a 4-color deck, so it's one of every element, and I believe it has a lot of mid to late game control synergy. So turn 1, he's going to play a Valley of Delight, call water, and use it to play an Onyx Core and pass turn. My turn 1, I'm going to play an Observatory, pull the top 3 cards off of my spell deck, and I see a core, I see a stone, and then I see the falconers. I'm pretty sure I leave the falconer on the top, just because I need those minions to come up sooner rather than later. And then I don't believe I have a turn 1 play, so I'm going to pass turn. Comes tapping for a sight. And we're going to see the Babbling Brook for 3. 2 mana to play a Common Sense. He's gonna dig for a Land Surveyor. And again, because he's playing 4 elements in his deck, having the Land Surveyor and getting 2 draws essentially out of it, one when he plays it the first time and then the second for the Genesis with the Deathspeaker ability, is probably important for him for his threshold fixing. So I drew those falconers off of my spellbook, and then I'm tapping for sight. And then I believe I'm playing a Treetop Hideout, which, I mean, I didn't love doing just because I don't get to take advantage of the Genesis, but I feel like at that point I needed to, because the 3rd sight was more important to hold. So the falconers come down, they summon the bats, and then that will be my turn 2, and then pass. Kellen plays a Land Surveyor, the one that he Common Sensed for in the last turn. He's gonna pull a sight off of his Atlas for the Genesis. So right now we're talking about going to conventions and the convention experience of having to cram 7 rounds of a tournament into one day, which is an endurance test. We're both prepping to go to Unland Cup at the beginning of June. he's going to tap for a site. It is Cloud City. Oh no, he's going to rethink that. Instead, he's going to play a tower, Gothic Tower. He must want the additional mana for this turn. He's got 5 for turn. And then two from the Land Surveyor, and then the last 3 to play the Apprentice Wizard to draw a card. At this point, with the bats on the board, I can start trading for some of his minions. The problem with the Deathspeaker deck is that, you know, you kill his minion, you send it into his cemetery, and then he still has the ability to recast it and get value from that Genesis ability. I'm going to tap for a site. I'm going to play a Bottomless Pit. And I play it to the side there. I think I had the Bottomless Pit in my opening hand, or if not opening hand, I drew it the first, one of the first few turns. I flew the Avatar of Air over onto it, and then I put some of the Pegasus onto it. Attacked to kill the Land Surveyor with the bats, and then attacked into the site with the Falconer for 1. So honestly, like, just moving on to the Bottomless Pit, I'm just trying to make it a little more difficult for Kellen to interact with the minion there, my avatar there. He would need like a spell to do damage to things there, or something that had airborne in order to get onto it. He played Cloud City for a site this turn. He played a new Land Surveyor to draw a site card, and then he recast his dead Land Surveyor from the cemetery for another draw. He's got a ton of card draw genesis going on right now, which is kind of one of the things that Deathspeaker really shines at in terms of getting value out of your cards, getting the double dip with those. I believe at that point I attack in and I call the site as the target, and he opts to block with his wizard, and then I attack with the bats where they are, and then I move in and attack with the Pegasus for 3, and he opts to block with the Land Surveyor. And at that point, I am looking to clear them off the board, even though it gives him the option to fire off their Genesis abilities with the Deathspeaker. I just want to like take away the option for him to have those pieces on the board now. And then I fly the Avatar of Air up onto his site, and I think that was a mistake. I sometimes, like, I've only played the like I said, I played the deck maybe 3 or 4 times, and I sometimes forget that the Avatar of Air, for it to use its ability it has to be on top of an air site. So I mean, I can still get onto an air site. There are two options within 1 step away right now: Treetop Hideout and Cloud City. It looks like he was thinking about, he played a he played a harpy, and then as a Genesis fought the bats with it, struck the bats with it and killed the bats. And then he's gonna play a Violimp to do 2 points to my avatar. So at this point I'm looking for equitable trades. If the Harpies didn't have Airborne, I could step with the Avatar and then use the ability to fly them into the bottomless pit and kill them. That's one of the things that the Avatar of Air decks will typically do. Kellen knows that, and that's why he played the Harpies there with Airborne. Yeah, see, I'm trying to do that because I forget that they have Airborne. It reminds me that that is something that they do. I don't like I said, like I'm not trying to make excuses, but I don't play Avatar. I haven't played a lot of reps with an Avatar of Air deck, so I'm not like super familiar with all of the attack patterns on it. I do play a grapple shot from the Pegasus to the Harpies to deal with them, and then I attack in for another 3 points of damage with the Pegasus. And the reason I chose to attack in for damage as opposed to killing the Violimps with the Pegasus, or because would be because the Violimp is actually something that I do sort of care about. Whether or not Kellen has access to that in his cemetery, because he could just recast it, and then that is going to be an instant, 2 point source of damage for him once that's in his graveyard, and I don't want it there. I don't want it there just yet. If he wants that in the graveyard, then he's going to have to kind of do the work and make the trade with the imp on his own. If I can avoid sending it into the cemetery at this point, I think that's probably the better play. So he plays another wizard to draw a card on Genesis. And he feasts for crows, and he's calling grapple shot for me because he saw one come out. I had another one in my hand, and these are probably, it's a safe bet that I am running 3, if not 4, grapple shots in the deck. Grapple shot's just a really good card that slots into almost any deck, but this type of deck in particular does really well. Like a deck with a lot of mobility and a lot of a deck that wants to be able to reposition itself. The grapple shot has just a ton of value. So we called grapple shot. He took out the grapple shots, one for my hand and one for my deck, and he got to take a look and see what was in there. This Avatar of Air deck, again, it's a meta net deck. It is just a mono air version of the Avatar of Air, just running flying creatures, trying to take advantage of the Avatar of Air's push ability to reposition and leverage bottomless pits and free cities, things like that. He's going to attack with the imps for 2 and then pass turn. I attack into the site with the Pegasus for 3, mostly just because he didn't have any blockers if I attacked diagonally, and I didn't want to kill another chump blocker. I wanted to push damage in. And I summon a Dapper Vampire, which is potentially more difficult for Kellen to remove. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any Violimps in his cemetery right now, and he doesn't have any airborne minions on the board right now. So if you wanted to deal with it, he would be looking to potentially like have to deal with it with a spell, or come up with a combo of cards to deal the 4 points of damage necessary to kill it, or come up with a different way to interact with it. I believe he's looking at his options for recasting. He's going to recast Land Surveyor for another site. He's just digging for another option. He's going to play a Fey Changeling, which is a way to deal with that for sure. That'll bounce it back to my hand. Fey Changeling for 3, Land Surveyor for 2 is 5 mana. And he's going to attack in with the Wizard, he's going to attack in with the Imps. Pass turn back. Taking a look at my options here. We're kind of racing at this point. From where I'm sitting, it looks a little unappealing to use the Pegasus to remove either the Imps or the Wizard. I think it's better just to do 3 points in. I'm going to recast those, the Vampire. And I recast it on the Bottomless Pits just to give it a little more, just to have it be on a more defensive position, to make it harder for him to remove. And then I play a Host Eagle, on the other side of the board, and that was really just to get some distance to space out my minions on the board, just in case he had any abilities that were going to punish minions for clumping. I've definitely played a lot of games where I've gotten a bit too confident, or I forgot to think about spacing minions properly on the grid, and then ended up getting, you know, like 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 with my minions, just because they happened to be on the same site or on a neighboring site. Kellen right now looking at his options here. He's got 3 minions on the board right now. None of them are particularly powerful bodies. Like the Violent is 2, the Fey Changeling is 1, the Wizard is 1. Like I said, his deck is built largely around like having all of these chump blockers out, getting a lot of value from being able to recast them once they die and go into the cemetery with the Deathspeaker. The deck is very good at kind of holding to mid to late game and then stalling out. He's attacking with the Imp for 2. He's attacking with the Changeling for 2. I opted not to block with the Host Eagle, just in case he was trying to bait some damage onto it and then be able to finish out the Host Eagle. I just would have really preferred to keep that body on the board. But he follows that up by playing a Field's Camlon, and the Field's Camlon is going to force me to choose 1 minion and sacrifice everything else, which I'm not in love with. I do get to keep the Vampire, which is a decent option. Looks like I drew into a Hounds of Ondoros. I'm going to go ahead and attack in for 4 points of damage. I'm going to play the Hounds into the Void because they have Void Walk. And then I am choosing to move onto Cloud City. So looking at my positioning with the Vampire, I think my goal was to get the Vampire over onto his clump of minions and Avatar on the home site to be able to hit something and take advantage of the Vampire's heal ability to gain 4 points on the next turn. And then also, I mean, in a perfect world, take him to door. If I could deal with the blockers. Where the Hounds are right now, they could move in, so he has a blocker for that, and he has a blocker for the Vampire. It just depended on if I had any other options in hand on the draw to be able to take care of those. I think I have, at this point in time, 2 Cast Exiles in my hand. So that could be an option at that point. I think I would spend one if I could get a guaranteed swing for door out of it on a turn. It was just really unappealing to kind of, you know, waste a cast into exile on a land surveyor or a wizard. But again, I mean, I've played Kellen's deck now enough times that, like, this is the majority of the deck. It's a lot of these chump blockers with Genesis abilities that he can get some value out of. So they just sit there and block until he comes up with something like this Ruler of Thule, which he just played out. And so he's going to attack in now for 2, 4, 6, 9 points of damage total. Yeah, it's going to do 9 total, which is a huge swing. It's going to take me down to 2, which is super close to the door. Like, I did not, and then he's going to Violimp. He's going to recast the Violimp using the Deathspeaker ability to take me to door at that point. Which, you know, good for him. that was definitely a great turn. I did not think that I was going to be going to door on that turn when I was up at 11 health, looking at getting a swing in with the vampire to heal for 4 more in the next turn. At this point, I need to definitely take him to door this turn, and then I also need to put pressure on him to keep his mass of blockers over there on my site until I have a way to deal with them. I can swing in next turn with the vampire with the hounds. That would take care of 2 of the blockers. I'm going to play hippogriffs, and I'm going to use the hippogriffs to charge onto the Ruler of Thule to trade. I believe that they should have traded, if I recall. But I think the game is almost over. I don't think that error is going to matter much here. We were talking earlier about, I think at the very beginning of this match, I had called that was maybe a Babbling Brook on Kellen's center square, and it's not. It's a pebbled path. So we were just talking about how, you know, I couldn't play the hippogriffs on any of the other sites because they would be affected by the pebbled path and lose the charge ability, but I can play it on the home site because it's not nearby the pebbled path. So that's what I ended up doing to get rid of the ruler. And again, I just wanted to get rid of the ruler because it was the highest value target there. But he's got a lot of win conditions in his hand. He's got the Nimbus Gen or a Violimp, and so I think he just ended up, you know, casting the Nimbus Gen since I was on his site, and then lightning bolting me for 3 with it. It's a good game. I'm still kind of, you know, getting more reps with the Avatar of Air deck, and kind of learning and thinking about the attack lines on it a little more. It's not something I have like a ton of experience with, even though I know that it's a popular deck and it traditionally has been a pretty strong deck. It is it's a very fun deck to play just because of the mobility. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.